Hello, heathens! This particular video was streamed live on Facebook. If you will, go down below and like my Facebook page to get notifications about when I'm live on Facebook, if you do indeed have a Facebook account. I know a lot of you don't like Facebook, but it is what it is. Go down there, like it, and you will see me live every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. Now, what this is about 10 questions for atheists that this one particular Christian has. All right, as I answer these questions, I would like you to actually answer with me in the comment section down below. Let me know, what you think about each one of these.
Hey everyone,
Hi!
Christian of Faith here, and I decided to do a
Christian of Faith
video, a question of asking atheists. I have 10 questions I want to ask atheists out there, agnostics, if you do not believe in God. So these are my questions to you. You can reply in the comments if you like.
Shoot, I'm doing a video.
My first question I wanted to ask is, how did you become an atheist? Were you born in a home without the talk of religion? Were you a believer once and then walked away from God? What's your story?
So, how I became an atheist. Well, I grew up Catholic, and then I transitioned out of that because my parents divorced, and my mom was like, fuck those guys. And so then we moved into more of a Baptist, non-denominational kind of thing. My mom went on to be Presbyterian and Lutheran and all this other junk. I stuck with the non-denominational, and then I went back to Baptist, and then, after I was caught falling asleep in every single church service that me and my friend was taking me to, I was just like, it's not for me. But that was actually when I started to question everything. My friend actually said that if I don't believe 100% about the Bible being God's word and it being reality, then I just simply wasn't a Christian. So I was like, well, then I can't say I'm Christian. Now, I know that's a no true Scotsman fallacy. I didn't know it back then. For me, it was just realizing that the Bible wasn't completely true, and then me investigating that for myself, trying to figure out answers to the Bible that eventually led me to being an atheist. I went through a transition phase where I was an atheist, and then I just believed in a general God, deist is what you would think. And then as I investigated more, I realized that I was an atheist, that I just didn't believe in a God. And so that was actually a really freeing moment for me. I love the fact that I came to my atheism on my own, and I was able to shed all that, because that shed so much, pain of me thinking that I'm not being a good Christian, the pain of every single day. I think that, if I look at a girl's ass as she walks by, am I going to hell? Do I need to dig the eyes out of my head? So that constant kind of worry is what I was able to shed. And I didn't have to worry about going to hell anymore, because I didn't believe in hell anymore. I didn't believe in a God anymore. I didn't have to worry about going to heaven. She's going to get into the whole what happens after you die here in a minute.
2, what happens when we die? Everybody has an opinion of what they think what happens when we die. I certainly have my opinion. So what's yours? I'm curious to know.
The way that I see it is that we're no different than any other life form on this earth. Well, I mean, there's obvious differences. We've got a higher functioning brain, and so we are different. But as far as how our bodies work, and like a high level overview of how our bodies work, it's pretty simple. We are a biological computer, a biological machine, and energy flows through us. Well, once that energy stops flowing through us, then that energy just dissipates. We don't have that energy anymore. That energy is not running through our bodies. So I feel like, what comprises our body, our energy and everything like that is just released back into the universe. So our body, of course, decomposes into the ground unless you get, cremated. Even then you decay in some kind of way. Energy that we used to have flowing through our bodies, I mean, it's just, there's no consciousness to it, because the one thing that makes you is your brain. It's a circuitry in there that, biological circuitry, of course. I don't think that I have little microchips inside my fucking brain. Once the energy stops flowing through that, you're gone. So, that's why I don't believe in ghosts. That's why I don't believe in some kind of afterlife, is that energy's flowing through our bodies, and once it stops flowing, then we are just simply gone. Honestly, I like the idea of just being gone rather than, there being some kind of heaven or eternity afterward. Especially if you have to go to heaven, because they always like to say that heaven, is the place you want to go, and hell is where you're going to burn in hell. Like that guy said at the first of the stream, you're going to burn in hell! Actually, I think you'd burn in heaven, because there's this wonderful image out there that explains how heaven is actually hotter than hell. So me going to hell, I think that I'm going to be in a better position than you fuckers in heaven, if it were to exist. She actually gets into that a little bit more here in a minute.
And also, what if you're wrong? And what if there is a heaven? What if it does exist? How would you react to that if there was a heaven and the whole time you did not believe that there was one?
Okay, so this is Pascal's Wager. Of course, everybody's going to call #Pascal's Wager, right? And what I would say is that if God does indeed exist and there is actually a heaven, then I would hope that he is justified in his judgment, and he judges on character. Because if he doesn't judge on character, and if he doesn't judge on our good deeds and whatnot, and not just simply believing in him, which that's kind of split in the Christian community, I would hope that I would get judged on that rather than whether or not I just believed. Because if I just believed, then that means a whole bunch of people up there are going to be up there that I don't want to be around, like Jeffrey fucking Dahmer. That's one guy that would be up there if it was just simply believe. So, I'd rather roast in hell with people that I love rather than be in heaven with a bunch of assholes that think they're better than everybody else.
Another question I have for you is, without God, where do you get your morality from? And if there is no God.
Okay, I think she's going to lead into another question. So where do I get my morality from? Well, morality, we all have an inner sense of morality, right? And a lot of Christians like to say that morality is objective, that there are objective morals out there. But, I really don't subscribe to that. I think that morality is very subjective. There's a really good book by Sam Harris called The Moral Landscape, and he does a pretty good analysis on the topic of morality. With the moral landscape or whatnot, you have he describes it as valleys and mountains of different moral codes, right? You're subjected to the morality of your current society. Here in America, it used to be morally fine for you to own a slave and beat them within an inch of their lives, right? Because they're your property. But now we see that as a moral wrong. We actually actively fight against, very subjective to the civilization that you live in, the society that you live in. So, that's where I get my morality from. I have an internal sense of morality, and then I form my own opinions as I go through life because of the society that I'm in. So let's go on.
Can we do what we want? Are we free to sin, murder, rape, while good deeds are unrewarded?
Okay, so my next point in this would be about sociopaths and psychopaths. Because sociopaths, it's not that they don't have a moral compass, it's that they lack the empathy part. They don't really empathize. Well, psychopaths, they take joy in causing other people's pain. So, that kind of ties in with the inner sense of morality. With everybody's inner sense of morality, they have things that are okay to them to do, and some things that they don't think is wrong to do. And I've actually got a really good interview with a friend of mine named Jeremy. He, suffers from, not really suffers, but he has sociopathy. It was very interesting talk to him. As far as the murder, rape, are you free to do that? Obviously not. The Bible doesn't stop serial killers. The Bible doesn't stop. And by the way, there are Christian serial killers out there. And even in Islam, a lot of Islam apologists like to say that ISIS isn't part of Islam. They are part of Islam. They are implementing Islam. They're implementing a very extreme interpretation when compared with current society Muslims or whatever. The more progressive, they're extreme. I personally, I don't believe, and I've actually got a video that I did on this that I'm putting out soon, that radical Islam, I don't think exists. I think Islam itself is radical, and there are some progressive Muslims that are trying to make it look not so radical. So before you like fucking unfollow or whatnot, listen to what I'm saying. I don't think there's radical Islam because Islam is radical in and of itself. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that all Islam is radical, just some people don't implement it radically, I guess. I think Christianity is radical, but you see the thing is that there's been a lot of reformation in the Christian community so that they're not interpreting it in that radical way anymore. Although there are some places out there that are still teaching that radical version of Christianity. We see it in Steven Anderson, Donnie Romero, that Jimenez guy from California, the Westboro Baptist Church. So there's still that radical element in Christianity. So you can tell that Christianity is a radical religion in and of itself. It's just that there are communities of Christians that have that have made it the norm not to implement it in that radical way. It's kind of confusing. I'm sorry if I'm really just droning on and on and on about it, but yeah, that was my answer to her question. Very long.
If there is no God, how does your life have any meaning?
Ooh.
Where did the universe come from?
Okay, I don't know if that was two questions or one, but we could try to sort through this, right? I make the meaning, I make my life mean something. I do something with my life. I try to help out people when I can. I know when this page was a lot smaller, I had a friend that was in pretty dire need because she couldn't provide her family with like Christmas presents, like her kids and everything. And so she started a GoFundMe and she was trying to raise at least a little bit of money to get her kids something. And so, I helped her out then, and I've helped out a lot of people, since then. And, I'm really a person that tries to help out people in the best way that I can, because that gives me meaning to my life. Meaning to my life is my son, trying to raise him in the best way that I can. He's 6 years old. He's starting first grade, and I mean he can read. Like, we go down the street and he reads a sign, which I know is probably not all that impressive to most people, but I mean, for me, it's like, I taught him that. Like, I helped him get to that point, and like that gives my life meaning. So, there's a lot of things in life that can give you meaning. You have to find it and then really just invest yourself in it. Like this page, it's not that it gives my life meaning, but I'm expressing the meaning of my life through the page.
Where did the universe come from?
Okay, very complicated answer here. I hope that you don't mind buckling up and going for a wild ride about 13.8 billion years ago. When the universe pretty much exploded from a little singularity kind of thing, and we don't know what caused it to explode. We don't know what happened before the Big Bang. We don't know any of that, which the Big Bang is a misnomer, from when they initially theorized the Big Bang. But we know that the Big Bang happened, obviously, because of the red shift in the stars. We know that the Big Bang happened because if we plot the positions of planets around us, we see that we're, at every point, it's kind of like we're the center of the universe and everything is moving away from each other. A lot of research in that, the gravitational waves, which I don't know if they've actually found the gravitational waves or not. Let me know in the comments below if you know whether or not they have found the gravitational waves that helps to solidify the evidence for the Big Bang. But we also know that it was 13.8 billion years ago because, one, that's as far as we can see out into space. Also, carbon dating on rocks and whatnot, that helps. Rocks from meteorites, grant you, from like meteorites. We know what elements were formed in the first bit of it. But, regardless of what bang, the first bang or whatever, it doesn't affect what happens afterwards. A lot of people like to use I think it's the Kalam cosmological argument to, talk about, fine tuning and all that. There's also like a causal link, like something had to have caused it. Well, yeah, there is. And we're doing some pretty good research into that. For the whole fine tuning argument, who's to say that it's only these particular, like a lot of them like to say, well, if you adjust it this way, then that causes everything to go out of whack. Well, the problem with that is, and I actually learned this from King Crocoduck on YouTube, If you move, if you adjust any of those values, what you end up having is other values change because you change that. So just because you change one value or whatnot doesn't mean that you can change other values of these constants, nor can you, will it not produce life? We only know that this particular, set of settings, if you will, produce life in this universe. We know that 100% because we're here. That's not to say that other settings can't produce life either, some kind of different kind of life.
What about miracles? What's your opinion on miracles?
I have a feeling this is more than 10 questions. Miracles. Miracles have never been proven to actually happen. Like, there's been never an instance of miracles being scientifically proven. Like there's always been a natural explanation to things. Like, I remember, one of the ways that, what's her face? Really old Mother Teresa. So Mother Teresa has recently been nominated for sainthood because in order to be a saint, you have to have 2 miracles like under your belt, after you've passed away. One of them was apparently the rosary that she had, or a rosary that she had, was placed on a cancer patient who had stomach cancer. And then after that, she was cured. So miracle, yay, miracle, ah! Not so much. She was also seeking treatment in other ways. She was getting chemotherapy, she was getting medicine and all this other stuff. But no! It was the fucking cross! It was the fucking cross that did it! So miracles, there's always a natural explanation. I've never seen a miracle or heard of a miracle or researched a miracle that has actually turned out to be valid.
What all the people who claim that they have a connection with Jesus, what about those who claim that they have seen saints or angels? How do you respond to that?
Okay, how do I respond to that is that mind can play tricks on you. I mean, sure, you want to see Jesus, and, I don't know in what context you've seen Jesus. Like, if you're talking about near-death experience, there's a lot that happens in your brain when your brain is dying. When your brain is being asphyxiated, it has a lack of oxygen, your brain starts doing weird things because it's in that panic mode. And so, like, one of the things is, like, these near-death experiences that you hear about. Near-death experiences are not good evidence. They're anecdotal. Plus, you can't really prove that you were, somewhere else. And a lot of people have claimed to be in a near-death experience, but then, they've been in a state where they cannot dream. It's like, okay, fine. I get that you can't dream, but you obviously woke up. You're standing there talking to me. So my question is how do you know that when you first started being able to dream to when you woke up, how do you know that little thing didn't happen inside that amount of time? I mean, dreams don't exactly happen like in real time. It's not like you lay down, you go to sleep, and you dream, and you remember all your dreams from the night. You remember the dreams that you most recently had when you wake up. If you know something different about that, please comment down below with with any instances, references and whatnot. But so near-death experiences aren't good. People that have seen all of this stuff, they're anecdotal evidence. Unless you can reproduce it, it's not good evidence. So yeah, I mean, and as far as how, people having a connection with Jesus, you would need to explain how that connection is different than a person that is Islamic or Jewish that feels that they have a connection with their respective prophets or gods. You would need to be able to explain how it's different than that. And really, I don't think that you'd be able to do that because it's the exact same feeling. It's chemical reactions happening in our brain that are causing this euphoria about it and causing, us to feel a certain way whenever we think a certain thing.
And what is your view on Dawkins, Hitchens, and Harris? And last question.
Okay, I have no idea which number question we're on, but Dawkins and Harris. Dawkins can be a little bitchy, especially on Twitter. He's pretty controversial, but I mean, I still like the guy. I mean, I've never met him, obviously, but, he's a pretty cool guy, I think. I mean, obviously, opinions are going to differ. Let me know what you think about Dawkins down below in the comments. But, I loved his books. He's got really great rationale. While I may disagree with him on some things that he's put out lately, Overall, I think that he's, a really good representative of the atheist community, I guess. Then Harris, obviously, I like him. I mean, I'm pretty. I guess you could call me a fanboy for Sam Harris. I really like his approach to things. His approach seemed analytical. A lot of people like to characterize him as an asshole, which he may be an asshole. But then again, I'm probably not going to meet him. So I can have this idealized version of Sam Harris in my head, and it won't be squashed by reality.
If there is no God, then why does every society have a religion? So those are my questions.
Okay, well, thank you for your questions. And for your last question, why does every society have a religion? Well, see, that's the thing about societies, is that, especially in the past, they used religion in order to explain things they didn't understand. What we would see as scientific study and figuring out things with science to know what our natural world is, primitive peoples use religion in order to be able to figure out what's going on in their physical world around them. Like, starting off with sun worshippers. They wondered why the sun came up in the sky and why plants only grew during sunlight. So, of course, they would worship the sun because the sun gave them food and, it allowed them to live. And then, of course, they recognized how, plants needed water and rain. And so then multiple gods formed because it's like, well, there's a god of the sky, and now there's a god of rain. And you have a lot of religions that are filling in these I don't know, which is, this is the God of the gaps argument. The I don't know portions with religion. They would fill it in and they would be able to explain it to people, and then they would be able to carry on with their lives and actually build civilization. So that's why religion was very important to primitive civilization. It just kind of grew from there. Christianity isn't so far separated from sun worship because a lot of the things in the Bible, like in the New Testament, are centered around sun worship, like the names of the apostles, when Jesus was born, as well as when Jesus died. Just a lot of things like that. There's a lot of sun imagery in any kind of medieval painting that you see about Jesus or any early stuff about Jesus. I've actually got a presentation I'm going to be putting up on the YouTube channel, which is linked up above this video. Go there, subscribe right now. I will be putting out some content this week to include, this presentation that I'm talking about. So definitely go up there and subscribe. But that is it for tonight. I appreciate everybody sticking with me. I think that we've had a pretty consistent viewership of like about 100 people. Y'all have a lovely night. And I'll see you guys later. Join the YouTube channel so you can see me sooner. So Daniel 9:24 through 27 predicts when the Messiah will come, and that's 70 weeks of years. And the gospel writers ended up figuring out that he not only, Matthew at least, was not only interpreting this as you just heard, yes, that was part of my call to the Why Islam line. And she actually interrupted me saying, no, there is no radical Islam. And, I actually did take some time to think about this.